I am not a believer of an either or approach. It's not that you either take medication or do functional medicine. It's usually yes and. Yes, I will take medications because you need that to manage your symptoms, prevent further tissue damage. There is a saying that we have in functional medicine that genes load the gun, but your environment pulls the trigger. I always ask my clients to think about this in terms of what kind of environment are they providing for their body? Is it a healing environment or is it not? So are they moving towards health or are they moving towards disease?
Right. Hello and welcome to AtACrossRoads, a series where we spotlight fascinating individuals with unconventional career paths. Today's guest is Anindita Rungta, India's first certified health coach in the field of functional medicine. Anindita helps women with autoimmune conditions reverse their symptoms using their body as their guide. She wasn't always in the field of health. She became a health coach in response to a traumatic experience involving her 6-year-old daughter, where she was battling a life-threatening infection, all because of a side effect of a drug. Let's chat with Anindita more about her inspiring journey towards the field of functional medicine. Hi Anindita, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi Neha, I'm so honored to be here, really happy to be here.
So when I heard about you and your story, I was like, wow, this is the story of a mother whose daughter was really struggling with her health, but you did not give up. You empowered yourself and you took control of her treatment. And I really wanted to share your story with our viewers. So tell us about all the events that happened at that point of time and your journey towards functional medicine.
So I think the journey started, Neha, about 10 years ago, and that was the time, as you mentioned, my daughter was hospitalized in the ICU for about a month or so. So the events leading up to that was that she had always had severe eczema as a child, which only grew severe with age as she started growing up. And by the time she was 6, she was already on immunosuppressive medications, oral steroids, at rotation. Right. And one of these medications put her in the hospital because it basically shut her bone marrow system completely. And that led to the infection, and it was a harrowing experience. And to cut a long story short, she was hospitalized, and I still remember the day that when the doctor said, there were 3 hematologists working on her case, and one of the doctors said that she might have to go for a bone marrow transplant if her system does not revive by itself. But it did. And on her 7th birthday in the hospital, which is on the 4th of July actually, she, her system started recovering. Her bone marrow started, working again and, getting back on track. So that was kind of, I think, a lease of life for her. And she came back home, and it was, but then again, the thing was that, of course, we were so grateful that she survived this, but then once again she was back on those same medications because her eczema was obviously not taken care of. Right. It was just a drug side effect. So that was actually the bottom, the bottommost part that probably a parent can ever go through in their life, right? And it was during that time in the hospital, during when she came back, that I was sort of determined that there had to be another way. There had to be. Right. She could not live her life, the rest of her life, taking some medication and just hoping that her immune system sort of would kick in, or that when she became because that's what I was told. Maybe hopefully when she becomes a teenager, her hormonal system, and because nobody knows how things work always. Right. So immune system will become better and become balanced, and it should hopefully go away. I wasn't willing to stay, live, because how do you live on a day-to-day basis? And because of that, she was on medication, because you can't sleep at night. I mean, only parents who have, either their child has a chronic condition or they've been going through, they'll understand, that it's a day-to-day life that becomes unbearable, right? That's why you take on medication, just to make it bearable, manageable, right? And that's when I decided during that time that there had to be another way. And I started it was actually year-long research. In 2013 and 2014, it took me the whole of 2014 to figure out, okay, diet has a role to play. I tried out Ayurveda, I tried out homeopathy. I saw some improvements, but clearly I had not yet understood what needed to be done. And that's when I literally stumbled across functional medicine. Literally, when I say stumbled across, I mean that I came across stories of people, and it was like too good to be true. I came across the story of Dr. Teddy Walls, who reversed her own multiple sclerosis when they said that it cannot be reversed. I came across the story of Dr. Amy Myers, whose thyroid had to be taken out because of her Graves' condition, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. And it had, these are all doctors, right? And she was again told that there's nothing that you can do, but even after that she had issues going on and she reversed her symptoms, etc. And now she's helping others, same as Dr. Teddy was, she's helping others. So all of these people and then countless others, have found a way to heal not only themselves from the inside out, but also find a solution for others. And that's how I literally came across functional medicine. And then I took the help of somebody, because there was nobody in India at that time to help me with it. And this practitioner based in London, and we started on this, I call it a journey, because it is a journey, because you have to make so many changes in lifestyle, diet. And we started in 2015. And then by 2017, her symptoms had come under control and she got off all medications. But as it is with any chronic condition, there will always be ups and downs. But because of the work that we have done and because of what I know, and with diet and lifestyle, it's pretty much under control, even if there are flare-ups. Yeah, and that's what led me to health coaching as well, because I realized there must be so many others who are in this same space that we were, right? Not knowing where to turn to, what to do, I remember feeling helpless and powerless, and I never wanted to go back there. So that's what brought me to where I am today, actually, in front of you.
Right. So that is a really fascinating story. So so you started out in this field in 2017
I started working with clients. Yeah.
So at that point of time, functional medicine, people were not really aware of this form of, medicine and treatment. So what were the challenges that you faced when you started your practice? Because it is difficult to convince people if they're not aware. What were the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So I think the primary challenges is that, Neha, I did not get the support and the guidance how to start doing. I knew about coaching because I was trained in that, but how do you bring it to people and reach out? So I pretty much started speaking to people about it. That's always where you start, I guess. And of course, as you said, convincing, and I quickly realized that it was not actually about convincing. It's also, and people knew my story to some extent. I think maybe that helped. Because I had already started writing a blog on eczema.
Right.
In 2013. Actually, our dermatologist had, she is the one who, sort of pushed me into writing. I had written a book. So all of these things also helped to reach out to people too, because once they heard the story and once they knew that my lived experiences were also a part of my practice. Right. I've always had that from day one, right? That's my strength and that's my USP. But yes, nonetheless, there were challenges, and I had a mentor, the same practitioner in UK. So, I used to reach out to him because there was nobody in India I could reach out to, right, who understood the work that I was doing. Neither functional medicine nor health coaching, both of which I knew, and both of which I blend in my practice. And I'll talk about that maybe in a bit. So that was the challenge. And the other thing, of course, is the acceptance part of it, because this is so new, even now. Even now. But I think more and more people are hearing about it, that functional medicine honestly is not an alternative so much as it is a solution for chronic illnesses. Because the problem with having a chronic illness is that there is no one particular reason why you have it, unlike an acute condition, whether it's an infection. If it's an infection, okay, you have to take an antibiotic or you have to take an antiviral and an infection will go away. If you need a surgery, if it's an acute case of appendicitis, you need the surgery, right? And it'll solve the problem. That's not true in the case of chronic issues, right? That's where functional medicine shines, and it picks up from the principles of Ayurveda, which is basically to find and address the true root causes of disease. Right? Or even
in fact, that was going to be my next question. So what is the difference between Ayurveda and functional medicine?
So the way I put it to people, and I think I'm going to answer your first question, is that what helped me is to, in India, that is to with my Indian clients, and I have clients all over the world, is to explain to them that in a way it's Ayurveda in the 21st century, because it has the latest research behind it, it has the latest testing behind it. So a lot of the research that is going on right now, which obviously corroborates what Ayurveda has been saying for thousands of years, but functional medicine is getting all that data, getting all the information. The only difference is that instead of a one-size-fits-all approach that conventional medicine takes, because it is meant to deal with different set of conditions, honestly, this is personalized. Okay, so it is personalized to that person. So what I mean by personalized is you don't have one diet for everyone. The diet has to be customized for that person, even if it is low carbohydrate, even if it is, say, vegan or whatever the case might be. So that's what I mean. So it's a personalized approach to chronic illnesses, and it's about, as I said, it's like Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, which means it's about finding and addressing the true root causes of disease. So what we do is we keep going further and further upstream. So downstream you have symptoms. So my role is to keep going further and further upstream to figure out what is happening, what is the root of it. Once people understand this, they actually are okay with, because they know this intuitively, that there's something wrong.
But officially, I mean, people are still a little skeptical about the fact that, there is lack of evidence, as far as functional medicine is concerned, or there is lack of, standardization. So how do you address those, type of issues?
So actually, that's not true. In fact, in India, we have a body called the IAFM, Indian Association of Functional Medicine, that has been recently formed. Of course, it's all new in India, but it's not new across the world. The Institute of Functional Medicine, I think, has been around for more than 20 years. So there is a lot of evidence, may not be in India in particular, but as far as functional medicine is concerned, there is a lot of data that is available. If you go to the website of Institute of Functional Medicine, you will see the collaboration that they're doing with Harvard Medical School, with Yale, with Cleveland Institute. So there's a lot of research that's already happening. Residents are being trained, and it has been happening over a long period of time, but it's, I think, picking up momentum as people see results, as people are looking for these kind of solutions. And as far as standardization are concerned, there has to be standardization, but it is more as far as some of the interventions are concerned. Say lab analysis is concerned, there has to be standardization there. But as I said, it's more, it has to be personalized. Because what is it that your unique body needs is going to be different from another person. So it has a mix of both.
So would you be able to share a couple of case studies where, somebody came to you after they tried everything and it didn't work for them, and you were able to reverse their symptoms successfully?
Actually, all my cases are like, all my clients are like that, because obviously, just like me, you try everything and, those things work or maybe don't, work to some extent. And again, I am not a believer of an either or approach. It's not that you either take medication or do functional medicine. It's usually yes and. Yes, I will take medications because you need that to manage your symptoms, prevent further tissue damage. So it's not either or. That's the first thing I want to mention. A lot of people have that in their mind. So it's yes and. So yes, you need medications, but the medications are mostly stopgap in nature. It's short term. And at the same time, then it gives you the time, the energy and the bandwidth to start making changes in your lifestyle, in your diet. So to give an example, one of my clients, I worked with her during the pandemic. So actually we didn't even have access to the latest testing that functional medicine offers. We only had access, and she lives in a small hill station. We only had access to basic lab work. But the beauty of functional medicine, and if you apply it the right way with the right training, etc., is that you can do so much with that. So in her case, she had been dealing with chronic diarrhea for like, I think 7 years. And she had, seen all the doctors, and so basically she was, every 2 weeks she was either on steroids or antibiotics. Chronic diarrhea means that she had stomach pain, so she couldn't go to work. Then, there's malabsorption, malnutrition, because the nutrients are not getting absorbed in your system. It's like they're going out, right? So there are all these, so there are a lot of downstream symptoms of that. So there was a whole host of issues. Cold intolerance, that means she used to wear she was already in hesitation. She used to wear 7-8 layers of clothes in the winter. She used to wear 4 layers in the summer, because your thyroid doesn't work properly. How can your body work if it's not getting the nutrients, right? So food is so all of this was happening, and her stomach was very sensitive, extremely sensitive, to the extent that she was one client that when I told her that you take, and I was very, very, careful with her because I knew her condition, that if you take a B complex, all of us do take B complex, she couldn't tolerate more than 1/4 of a capsule. So we started with 1/4. I used to tell her, open the capsule, throw away half, and take 1/4 of that, like by and large. So that's how sensitive her stomach, because everything is to set off a diarrhea. So that's where she was when she started working with me. I work on, over the years, I've developed a paradigm that we need to be able to trust our own bodies. They are our best guide in this healing journey. So as she learned, and through various, tools and techniques that I taught her, to listen to herself, and then started focusing on the right foods, etc. It was a very, very, very slow journey. In the 5th month of working together, her diarrhea stopped, because we finally figured out that the onions that she was consuming was causing her diarrhea. And we had pretty much, and it will not come up, Neha, in any test that you do. That's the problem, because not everything can be tested.
Yes.
I mean, you can do all kinds of testing, and yeah, her diarrhea stopped without any medications. And I remember she told me, I don't have to wear so many layers of clothing anymore. So her thyroid was working. Even, you can make out by lab markers, but you can make out by all of this as well. Your quality of life improves in ways that you couldn't imagine.
Why did you only focus on women, to treat women and not,
Initially, actually, I was working with everyone. I think, the women are the primary caregivers and nurturers. Like, they carry the emotional burden, if I can call it that way, right, of the family. They are the ones who manage the emotional health, the physical health. So if they are not well, and if they are not able to take care of themselves, which happens for so many different reasons, then the whole family suffers. I saw it. I mean, I have been that woman. So I knew that if I had not taken care of myself, the woman is healthy, the mother is healthy, the wife, the whole family actually, lives a healthier life, right? And I've each and every instance, Neha, of helping women in the last few years, especially the women clients, has resulted in that whole family eating healthier. The families, whoever had to lose weight, losing weight. And not because I was working with the rest of the family members, the husband or the child. Everyone's diet improved, their energy levels improved, somebody's hair loss, improved. So all of that. So that's why I believe. And I think the other thing is I believe that we need a lot of healing. The world is in need of healing. And I am a firm believer that I can help in a small way of doing that by healing the world one woman at a time. So that's why, I think I chose to work with women.
How aware should a woman be about her family history? Like, what are the conversations that she should be having with her mother or her grandmother about, because see, everybody mostly talks about cancer, they'll talk about diabetes, but what are the other conditions that they need to be aware of, which we really don't talk about, just basically to make sure that you get a better perspective about your health.
I look at it a bit differently, Neha. So of course we need to be aware about diabetes, cancer. These are the our cardiac, health, cardiac heart disease and heart and all that. So of course we need to be aware. But I think we need to be aware even more about, and I'll be talking about genes, about the fact that environment matters a lot.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, in the case of autoimmune conditions, that primarily the condition that I work with, your genes account for, in most of the conditions, genes account for only about 1/3 of the factor. The rest of it is your environment, right? That means the food that you're consuming, that means the thoughts that you're having, even your mindset, thoughts, which is your mental makeup, and the toxins in your environment, that means the products that you're using. All of it matters even more, and that's true even for cancer. There are, of course, some conditions which are, which happen because of some gene. There is a saying that we have in functional medicine that genes load the gun, but your environment pulls the trigger. The good thing about this is that a lot of it is in your hands, and I think that's the conversation that women should be having with their, mothers or grandmothers or even daughters for that matter, right? And daughters actually, I think we should be having, because it will help them prevent a lot of issues in the long run. I mean, so that's one. Because at the end of the day, what you are doing in your day-to-day life is going to make a huge amount of difference. We don't realize that, right? So epigenetics is, we say epigenetics, which means that the role that your environment has to play also matters. Of course, if you have particular genes for a particular condition, it predisposes you to that. Like in autoimmunity, I'll give you an example. Genes is one of those factors. There are three factors. So the genes is one of them, of course. So if you have the genes for a particular autoimmune condition, but the other two factors are your environment and your gut, which is something called intestinal permeability. So that's how it all plays. So I would actually, I always ask my clients to think about this in terms of what kind of environment are they providing for their body? Is it a healing environment or is it not? So are they moving towards health or are they moving towards disease?
Right. Since nutrition is a major part of your domain, what would you recommend to a family where maybe there is no chronic illness, but what are those things that what are those foods that one must consume on a daily basis or a weekly basis with or without a disease?
So honestly, some of the basics are the same for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you have a disease or not. So let me start there. So it is about fresh, unprocessed, whole foods. It's as simple as that. So basically what I'm talking about is an traditional Indian diet. That's what I mean, okay? Which does not include a whole lot of breads and refined carbohydrates and pastas and everything. Vegetables, so plants, which is the fruits and vegetables. And when I say this, most people take it to mean they can have even more of fruits. I don't mean that. I actually mean more of vegetables than fruits, because fruits contain sugar. Right. And we are naturally drawn to fruits. So I don't think we have to force ourselves, but to have an orange or something. But we certainly have to get used to the taste of a bitter gourd, which is bitter, right, or a broccoli. Nobody can overdose on that, right? I mean, nobody can have too much of that. So that's one part of it. The other is the sugar consumption has shot up, right? Also not because you're, and the first thing that people ask, when I tell them that sugar is a big part, and they say, no, but I'm only having 1 spoon in my tea. I always hear this. I said, yes, that's fine, but have you ever checked the labels of your packaged products in your house? To give an example, check your tomato sauce ingredients. You will often find sugar is the second ingredient, and the ingredients are in order of how much they are in terms of percentage. So if sugar is the second or the first, that means you're actually having kind of a sweet sauce, right? So that's what I mean. By and large, I feel that a lot of the cereals that we get, especially the children's cereals, they're desserts. Yes. Right? A lot of the beverages that we have in all these amazing cafes and all are all desserts hidden, and that's the problem, because if you're having a slice of cake, you're having a slice of cake. If you're having a tall frappuccino, you don't realize how much you're consuming, or a Coke. So I think that is one conversation and one awareness that has to be created, that there's a lot of hidden sugar in our food, so we need to be aware of that. And I think the last very simple thing that I ask my clients to do right from the beginning is that there is something called and if you Google it, you will find it, rainbow diet. All it means is that you have all colors of fruits and vegetables. So that's one. And of course, healthy proteins, healthy fats. So there's, so basic healthy protein can mean, which means animal protein for those who are non-vegetarians. Those who are not, it means nuts, seeds. If you can have eggs, nothing like it. It's a complete protein. So, so all of that. It's actually pretty basic.
So my next question was actually going to be, what are the strict no-nos in terms of food? But I think you've already answered that. So mostly sugar. Yes. It will be packaged.
But what I did not mention are the preservatives and the colors.
What are your views on these fad diets like keto or low carb diets, or what do you have to say about that?
So the diets, it's good to know and good to have awareness as to why a diet exists, right? Why does keto exist? It helps in a lot of the neurological reversing a lot of the neurological symptoms. The pescatarian diet, which is fish only, again helps in a lot of the heart related issues. But there is no one right diet. That is why when you hear your neighbor saying that I did this diet or I did intermittent and it's helped me, and you tried and it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work, because your body doesn't need that particular thing. Your body needs a completely different, not diet, different set of foods. Right. So rather than following a diet, as I said, the diet, if at all we have to follow a diet, it has to be fresh, unprocessed and whole foods diet, rather than any label. At the end of the day, it's about the diet that is the right diet for your unique body's requirements, and that's going to change over time. So if you get fixed on one diet, that becomes a problem, because in pregnancy you might actually need some more protein. As you grow older, you might need some more protein. As maybe at some other point in time you needed to have less, or maybe a plant-based diet was more effective. It keeps shifting. Our body keeps changing. It keeps evolving. It keeps responding to our environment. If there is more stress in your life, you might need something else. You might need, more. Maybe more toxins in your life. You might need more cruciferous vegetables, which is your broccoli, cabbage. So it keeps changing. So I think rather than focusing on the label, if you can focus on figuring out what your body needs now and then keep tweaking it as you go along. I mean, that's when you see the results.
Yes. A lot of clients who come to you, they already have chronic illness and they've tried everything and they're already in a very bad place in terms of, mentally. How do you coach them? And firstly, how do you get them out of that space so that they can, start their healing process?
So the coaching is about discovering your own power to change, if I were to put it that way. It's about changing your habits, it's about changing your behavior, but I think most importantly, it's about instilling that, confidence in yourself, that you can change, right? And there is a way out, that there is hope. So I think the biggest thing I give my clients is hope, okay? And the way I do it is, of course, through my framework and all, but for example, the first question, and I always say this, because I get this question a lot, I ask my clients in every coaching session, the first thing I ask them is, what is one thing that you want to celebrate this week? One thing that has gone well for you. No matter how bad things are, no matter, and I have clients with 200 symptoms, 250 symptoms when they start with me. They are in a really bad place, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all aspects. But the first question is always, what is that one thing? What it does, it shifts our focus only on the negativity, because that's how our brain has been wired because of evolution. And it shifts our focus from the negativity to also the things that are going well in our life. Because otherwise, how do you feel motivated? How do you become more resilient, right, to deal with the challenge? None of these issues are going to go away overnight. So to become more resilient, you need to be motivated to keep going, to sustain your journey, right? And I always say healing is a journey. So some of these, so this is like just a kind of a shift for them, right? Right at the beginning. And they will say, nothing really happened, and not much, and I have this issue. And this, I said, no, let's start there. Let's start with what went well. Did you have a hot meal prepared for you today? Did your daughter give you a hug today? Did a stranger open a door for you or smile at you today? Okay, it can be as small and as varied as that, right? It's not about, and then they said, oh my God, yes, actually, it was not all bad. It was actually that, this happened, and my husband got me some flowers or something like that, right? So that shifts their thinking.
Do you think that, you've reached that stage, functional medicine, where people also are willing to come and discuss what are the things that they should not be doing to prevent a chronic illness from happening?
I think that awareness is growing, definitely. Not too many people have reached out in terms of prevention. I don't think that has translated yet, but I think the awareness is more on that, okay, there is a way out, maybe it's diet, maybe it's supplements, maybe it's something else that can help me with my health issue. Right. Prevention, not so much, but I think the awareness is just setting, and because of my work, because I have posts, blog posts, I have a podcast and all the work that I've been doing, most people reach out to me when they actually have a health issue.
So Anindita, my last question to you would be, what is that one message that you would like to give out to women who are living with severe chronic illnesses?
Message would be that there is a way, there is hope, and it starts by taking responsibility of your own healing, right? Taking charge of that, finding somebody who can support you in this. While you are obviously going through the medication, treatments, intervention, because they are often necessary for severe chronic illnesses, you can take charge of your own healing, and as I said, happens at a physical, emotional and spiritual level. I'm not just talking about the physical level, and you can get functional medicine practitioners and health coaches to help you with all of this.
Thank you so much, Anindita, for joining us and for giving us all this wonderful information.
And thank you, Neha, for asking me to be here. I'm really honored, because I really believe that there is so much that we can do for people who are suffering needlessly in many different ways. So if I can do a little bit in sharing and this awareness, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you so much.